911, what is the address of your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Okay, what's going on?
I'm not sure.
Why are you calling 911?
Pardon me?
Why are you calling 911? What's the emergency?
Okay, never mind.
Yeah?
Yes?
What's the emergency?
I can't really, I don't know.
You don't know why you called 911?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then why did you call?
Darlie Gentry was admired by everyone for her beauty. She had blonde hair and a beautiful, wide smile. In school, she was the prom queen, and many called her Barbie. Darlie was sociable and always the center of attention. She had many admirers. After school, she enrolled at Texas State Technical College to study to become a dental assistant. There, she met Keith, who was studying design and welding. They fell in love immediately. In college, they were considered the most beautiful couple. After graduation, Darlie expected a marriage proposal from him. But Keith wasn't ready for marriage at the time, and the couple broke up. Darlie moved to Dallas, where she worked for a dentist. But after an unpleasant incident in Dallas, when her car was stolen, she returned to her hometown. Keith had always loved her and missed her. Upon learning of Darlie's return, he came to her and suggested they start dating again. She agreed. Her feelings for him hadn't faded either. Keith proposed in 1999, and they got married. Soon, the couple had 3 sons, one after another. Despite having 3 children, Darlie remained in excellent shape. She took care of herself and loved going to school. Keith earned good money, so she never denied herself anything. They built a house in a nice neighborhood next to Keith's parents. Disillusioned with her dental job, Darlie took a part-time position as a school nurse. Keith's job required constant travel. Darlie essentially raised the children alone, managed the household, and still worked. But she never complained and always appeared content and happy. Their marriage seemed strong and stable. Keith understood that Darlie was struggling, so he found another job closer to home to spend more time with his family and help his wife. However, the new job wasn't as well paid, and there was no extra money for Darlie's luxurious purchases. But she seemed unwilling to acknowledge this and continued making expensive purchases using credit cards. The debts kept growing. Keith repeatedly told his wife that they needed to be more modest with their spending until he found another well-paying job. But she either didn't listen or didn't want to. They began arguing frequently over financial difficulties. On November 5th, 2005, at 6 a.m., 31-year-old Darlie Gentry called 911 and reported that she had woken up to find that intruders had broken into their home and shot her husband. According to her, "I got up this morning. I was sleeping in the kids' room. The back door was open. There are no guns in the house. They were stolen. My husband is lying on the bed, gurgling. Pink foam is coming out of his mouth." Police immediately arrived at the scene. Darlie remained on the phone with the 911 operator during this time. The operator instructed her on how to administer first aid, but Darlie only sobbed and made no attempt to help Keith. 31-year-old Keith Gentry had been shot once in the head. He was unconscious but still clinging to life. He was rushed to the nearest hospital, where he was placed on life support. The townspeople were shocked by the incident. They couldn't understand who would target a devoted father of 3. Police inspected the house and found no signs of forced entry. Keith's gun cabinet hadn't been broken into. It had been opened with a key. None of the doors or windows had broken locks or glass. The gun was found neatly placed outside near the house. None of this resembled a robbery. Officers realized something was wrong. They swabbed Darlie's hands for gunshot residue and called her in for questioning. She agreed. During interrogation, Darlie stated that the night before, she had gone out with friends. When she returned home at 8:30 p.m., she and Keith had argued over credit card debt. Darlie left to cool off, but later returned, and they reconciled. The children were feeling sick, so she slept in their room while Keith slept alone in the bedroom. She claimed she woke up because the house felt cold. She went to investigate and found the back door wide open and Keith's gun cabinet empty. When she entered their bedroom, her husband was face down, with foam coming from his mouth and blood from his head. She immediately called emergency services. Investigators found it strange that a woman with medical training didn't even attempt to help her husband, especially since the 911 operator walked her through the steps. Yet she did nothing. During the call, Darlie spoke in an eerily calm voice, as if nothing had happened. She didn't start with, "Hurry, save my husband," but instead gave unnecessary backstory, raising further suspicion. Darlie responded, "I was in shock and didn't know what to do. I was thinking more about the kids." While at the police station, she never once asked about her husband's condition. During questioning, officers were informed that Keith's brain was dead. They took Darlie to the hospital, where she signed the papers to disconnect him from life support. Police noted her odd behavior. Though she had tears in her eyes, she didn't seem genuinely upset. Questioning resumed the same day. Detectives pressured Darlie, hoping for a confession. Realizing this, she invoked her Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and her Sixth Amendment right to an attorney. Police ended the interrogation, and Darlie was released after hiring a lawyer. Investigators continued working the case. They compiled a list of firearms and discovered a missing .22 caliber pistol, a gift from Keith's father. The forensic examination confirmed that Keith had been shot with the same pistol. Darlie consented to a search of her home. Police combed through the entire house for evidence. In the kitchen trash can, they found a pair of latex gloves and a .22 caliber bullet casing. The gloves and casing were sent for forensic analysis. The gloves tested positive for gunpowder residue and contained DNA from both Darlie and Keith. The casing matched the bullet. Darlie's fingerprints were found on one of the guns, but none on the others. Earlier gunshot residue tests on her hands also came back positive. Investigators discovered that Keith had a $750,000 life insurance policy, which could have been the primary motive for the crime. Darlie was in desperate need of money. 19 days later, Darlie was formally charged with murder. She was arrested and jailed, but not for long. No one could believe she was capable of such a thing. Keith's parents had always loved Darlie and refused to believe she could be involved in their son's death. After the incident, she and the children had been living with them, and Keith's parents cared deeply for her and the boys. So when they learned of her arrest, they kindly posted her $50,000 bail, and she was released. She moved back in with her in-laws. Police frequently visited Darlie, questioning her relentlessly. They annoyed her so much that she eventually stopped opening the door, screaming at them to leave. Eventually, she left the children with Keith's parents and moved in with one of Keith's sisters, hoping the police would back off. As detectives dug deeper into Darlie and Keith's relationship, they learned that Keith had adored his family. To spend more time with them, he had left a high-paying job he loved for a lower-paying one he hated. He was troubled that Darlie barely participated in raising the kids, constantly leaving them with his parents while she went shopping or to beauty salons. Despite this, Keith told his parents, "I'll never leave Darlie. I love her too much. She'd have to be the one to leave me." 9:40. Keith's brother recalled, "She was never happy. She didn't want to be home with the family. My brother wanted more time together. She didn't. Instead, she'd just leave. He wanted to bathe the kids, put them to bed. He was the perfect father, playing football, wrestling with them. They were happy." Despite the police's efforts, there were no other suspects. Keith was a good man with no enemies. No one wanted him dead. Under suspicion and aware that police knew about the insurance policy, Darlie never filed a claim. She was confident she'd be acquitted, young, beautiful, and nothing like a criminal. The prosecution had only circumstantial evidence. Tired of living with Keith's family, Darlie contacted a realtor she knew, Robert Pavelko. He was surprised she reached out given the tragedy. His shock grew when she asked him to bulldoze her house, claiming it held bad memories. Robert argued that destroying such a beautiful home was a terrible idea and suggested she consider moving instead. He offered her a lakeside property. At first, she loved the idea, saying Keith had always wanted a house by the water so the boys could fish. A week later, Darlie called Robert back, this time demanding he fill in the pond. Alarmed, he notified the police. Investigators found her request bizarre and theorized she might have dumped the gun in the pond and now wanted to bury it forever. A dive team was dispatched, and within 15 minutes, they recovered the missing pistol. Unaware the gun had already been found, police asked Robert to play along. He told Darlie the pond would need to be drained before being filled. Anxious, she asked when this would happen. He said 2 days. 2 officers hid near the pond with a camera. Darlie, fearing the gun would be discovered, went to the site. The footage showed her in jeans, a sweater, and tall boots, glancing around to ensure no one was watching before wading into the water. She searched the exact spot where the gun had been found, spending several minutes looking before giving up in frustration. At trial, the prosecution focused on Darlie's actions after Keith's murder, presenting circumstantial evidence. They argued she killed him for the insurance money. Her mounting debts made a dead husband more valuable than a living one. Darlie maintained her innocence. When the pond footage was shown, she claimed she'd heard rumors. The real killer had planted the gun there and wanted to find it first to avoid being framed. Her motion to exclude the video was denied. After 5 hours of deliberation, the jury unanimously found her guilty. She was sentenced to 60 years in prison, eligible for parole in 2037. Keith's parents were granted full custody of the boys, and Darlie was barred from contacting them. Now 47, Darlie Gentry continues to proclaim her innocence. Multiple appeals have been denied. Let us know, what are your thoughts on this? Was it really worth killing her husband for a life insurance? Please, support the channel by liking and subscribing for more videos from us. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.